I'm Reverend Hadley, and let's queer up gay students in youth culture. In Texas, LGBTQ students are facing growing hostility as state cracks down on gender discussions. Transgender and nonbinary students in Texas say intolerance is rising as the state intensifies restrictions on gender-related instruction. Several students told the Texas Tribune they've experienced escalating harassment and alienation on campuses, once seen as very inclusive. Beth, a transgender student at Texas Tech, said, "I know it could be a lot better off if I lived somewhere else, if I wasn't considered a monster." For years, Texas Tech has served as a haven for LGBTQ students, hosting events like Lubbock Pride and the Big 12 LGBTQ Allies Summit. Those programs have since faded, voicing the faces of a shifting climate. At the University of Texas at Austin, a non-binary and transgender student, Liz Graff, described being physically bumped and socially isolated. Other students echoed similar experiences, describing campuses that have become increasingly more hostile over the past 2 years. They appeared at lines with the wave of LGBTQ student legislation and policies promoting prompting Campus Pride 2023 to stop recommending Texas schools to queer students. Governor Greg Abbott's order to close LGBTQ student resource centers marked a turning point. Since then, crackdowns have continued, including a recent firing of a Texas A&M professor for discussing gender identity in class. Having spent a lot of time in Dallas, we go to Austin for a sense of normalcy and how Austin becomes a bright center in the star. Texas has never been a bastion of liberalism with small pockets. It's just sad to see that state like Florida is going so far backwards and dragging people along with it.
You know, the tough part for students, especially like who are going to state schools, you know, first and foremost is the economics.
Yep.
You're going to a state school because you're getting in-state tuition. So it might be, you know, great for Campus Pride to say, don't go to colleges in Texas, which I understand the rationale for it, but the ability of these students to, you know, transfer to California or to New York or to somewhere else is very limiting.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to encourage students and anyone that's facing that is, you know, there are resources that are outside of your college and university that hopefully they can lean on because, again, they're, you know, mandating these things or, you know, any other local organizations to reach out to. And it's, again, it's going backwards. I mean, it's at a time before there were, I mean, I've been out of college for a long time now, but I will say, you know, remembering that was, you know, almost 30 years ago, to remember that we had LGBTQ resources then. Again, I went to school in New Jersey, which is a lot more liberal, but to think that like in 2025, we're getting rid of LGBTQ student resources is, you know, and it's very Texas.
But the resources are not just the schools, they're blanketing, they're, you know, getting rid of resources. So even though hopefully there's something private that they could lean on, like you said, there's no funding for that either. And states like Texas and Florida are pulling back all the resources for that, whether it's at a state level or just privately funded, or just they're taking our money.
Yeah, I mean, they are doing that. I mean, I think that the one thing that, you know, if we did compare to 30 years ago would be that the resources of having access to the internet and information is at least one thing that people have that they didn't have back then.
If you can believe it.
Yes, you know, that they have resources outside of their, you know, that doesn't help your day-to-day life when you're being ostracized at college, where you're going there to better your life and study and, you know, do the things that are required of you, and being faced with a hostile environment is, you know, is really disappointing.
I know there are two great resources in Texas, one in Houston, one in Dallas. United Church of Christ, the Cathedral of Hope in Dallas, and Resurrection MCC in Houston. Those are so supportive. They become resource centers to the community in general, and people are flooding them for information and hope, not just a good message, but for support and respect and honest, fair information.
Good resources. Great. Thanks for sharing that. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.